Welcome to the course Data Analysis and Business Intelligence with Tableau. We are in week 7, and in this week we are going to learn about joins and blending. Recap on our last week. In week 6, we have learned about ways to distribute on our dashboards. Like we have learned about how to distribute on Tableau Public and what are the other ways to distribute on Tableau Server and online. But we have learned how to distribute on Tableau Public in detail. We also saw how to create a Tableau Public account before distributing. And we saw the ways to export the data into various formats. We do have formats like PPTs, PDFs, and we do have formats like data and crosstab, etc. We have just saw how to download them even before publishing and after publishing. We discussed about different types of workbook file types and how we use them while we are sharing. So there are like different types of file types, and we discussed about TWPX, TDS, TDE, and hyper files, extracted files, and we discussed about bookmarks, map sources, etc. We learned how to publish a dashboard and what are the options you have to go through whenever you're publishing the dashboard onto Tableau Public. We also discussed about Tableau Online and Tableau Server to just refresh our memory. We learned about publishing data sources and connecting them back. We learned about when and why to replace a data source, and whenever you replace a data source, how to close the previous data source. So the table of contents for this week are, we are going to learn about joins, and in joins, we are going to see inner and outer join, left and right join, blending, and union. So the learning objective for this week, by the end of this week, you will be learning about all the joins and different types of joins that are available in Tableau. We will discuss briefly into how joins will join the data, in what scenario, what you have to use, etc. We will discuss about how the data flows whenever you are joining and what kind of join you have to use based on your data. We will discuss about primary and unique columns. What is a primary column and what is a unique column? Blending and unions. We will discuss blending is a different kind of join, but we call it as blending because of some other purpose, and we will also see how we do unions to join the data. In the blending, we will discuss about primary and secondary data sources, what is primary and what is secondary, and how do you identify them as primary and secondary data sources. So moving on to our first topic, joins. We have different kinds of joins in Tableau. Not only in Tableau, we have different kinds of joins in SQL. It's all related to the data and how to combine data. Joins, we can easily relate them to VLOOKUP concept in an Excel sheet. They kind of work. The work scenario is same, process is same, and all the kind of data joinings will trace back to our basics from Excel VLOOKUP. So what is left join? Using a left join, result will be a table which contains all the values from the left table and corresponding matches from the right table. So you will see all the values from the left table, and whatever is mapped up with the right table, it will bring up that row from the right table. What is right join? Right join will result a table which contains all the values from right table and corresponding matches from the left table. So it is like vice versa of left join. Right table will bring all the values from the right table and it only bring up the mapped values from the left table. What is an inner join? Inner join is all combining values between both the tables. If we have a left and right table, all the matching values from left table and right table will be coming as a result. What is outer join? Outer join brings up all the data from the left table and the right table. Even if we do not have any matching data, it will bring everything in both the tables. So we will discuss more about the left joins and other joins from the infographic concept. So let's imagine you have two tables. This is first table, the left one, and this is the second table, the right one. So if you see these two rounds, you can compare it with the Venn diagram. And if you're using a left join, all the data from the left join, which is representing the complete blue round, will be coming, and whatever is mapped with the right join, if you see here, our left round is overlapping onto the right round, and this one we call it as mapped data. This part of the middle one can be recognized as the matches which we have in the right table. Those are the ones will be picked up to join the two tables. This is totally relatable to your Venn diagram. Like the left round will be completely, you will be completely seeing the data, all the rows from the left, but you will be seeing only a few rows from the right table. So what happens for the columns which are not mapped with the left table? Tableau will add a null in that place. So whatever columns you have in the left table will be filled with data. The row data, which is mapping up with the right table, will be having some data from the right table. So we have to expect that most of the rows will not bring up the data because they will not have any mapping values in the right table. In that place, Tableau will add a null over there. That means a zero. You can consider it as a zero or a blank. And it will map all the nulls to the respective columns. The same goes with the right join. Right join is a vice versa of a left join. And if you see here, the Venn diagram, the right round has completely blue color and the left one is completely in white color. So this means the right table is completely bringing up all the values and the left table is only bringing up the mapping values. So from the left table, which are not mapped up with the right one, will be nulls. So you will see all the data from right, but you will see only the mapped rows from the left. Inner and outer joins. So inner join is like only the matching values from table A or table B. Let's consider the left one is table A and the right one is table B. So we do have some matching columns from the left table and the right table. And it only will bring up the rows whatever is matching. It will not bring up any rows which did not match with the table B. And the data you will see will only have fewer rows because it will only bring up the mapped data. So if you see here, you have two rounds and the table A and table B, only the mapped content, that means the overlapped content is only shown from the result. Outer join is like everything. Whatever you have in table A and whatever you have in table B, everything will be there in your result. Even if it is mapped or even if it is unmapped, even if you don't have any joined mapped data to the row, it will bring everything. And wherever possible, it will add nulls. So this is how joins look in Tableau. So we have four joins: inner, left, right, and full outer. The default join whenever you connect the table will be inner join. You can change according to the data requirement. If you want to move to other joins, you just have to click on them and give the common clause. If you see here, you have to give the join clause. That means a column which contains unique values. Let's say in this case, we can join it based on the order ID because order ID will be unique to each product. It will have all the data which is present in there. And if you just go with any other columns, some of them might be different in the first table and can be different in the second table. Let's take an example of a name, a customer name. Customer name can be John in one table, and John something in the second with the second name in the other table, right? So Tableau will not understand that these two people are the same. So it is always important to join the tables based upon the unique value. The order ID will have numbers and also the alphabet, so that one will be unique, and the same thing will be present in the second table as well. That makes the column unique actually. So this is the join clause you have to do whenever you're joining two tables, and please to check the data to find out that unique column to join your two tables before dragging upon the data onto your tables onto your sheet, the canvas. You have to check what is the column you're going to join, and you need to join them based upon the name over here. You just have to, this is a drop down, you just have to click on the drop down. You have to select the column name here and the column name here on the second one. So this is how you join the tables in Tableau. Let's move on and see how it is going to be inside Tableau. So before going to Tableau directly, I wanted to show you how this one looks like, so practical, by taking like 2 to 3 columns, like 2 to 3 columns, 2 to 3 rows, and we will see how this is going to work whenever we are running these joins at the back. Okay. Let's take the scenario of we have an orders table. Okay, let's consider this 3 columns with 3 rows as an order table. And the second one is the customers table. In the customer table, you have like 4 columns and 3 rows. So we are going to join these two tables. So we need to find out the unique column whenever you're joining the table, right? So in this case, what is the unique column you have? Let's look at the table. So if you see here, the first one is order ID, customer ID, and order date. Second one is customer ID, customer name, contact name, and country. So the unique column, the same column which has in these two tables is customer ID, and it is a number. So we can actually join based upon this customer ID. Let's say we want to bring orders, order ID, sorry, we want to bring order ID, and we want to bring customer name here in the second table, and we want to bring order date. So we are picking up order ID and order date from the first column, and we are going to bring up the customer name from the second column based upon the customer ID. Now we're going to look at how the inner join is going to work. So what is inner join? Inner join is completely mapped up values, only the matching values from the table 1 and table 2, right? So it has to bring up whatever the table which is mapped. So let's take this table, how inner join will look like. So we're going to bring order ID, customer name, order date. So first, what the join will look at is customer ID. We are going to join based upon the customer ID. So it will look at customer ID in both the tables. Let's see what is the data at the back end. We have 2, 37, and 77. So in the customers table, we have 1, 2, and 3. So the common one between these two tables is 2. So what join will understand is, okay, only the mapping value, because we are doing an inner join. We have to bring only the matching values from the first table and the second table. So I will go with 2 and I will take order ID and print here. Next, I have to get the customer name. I will go to here. I will take the customer name and print here. And the next, we are going to get the order date. So this will go to the orders table, check for the customer ID and bring up this customer date. So this is how your inner join will look like. It only bring up the value which has mapping content. Like customer ID, only 2 is matching in these two tables. We do not have any other data. So it will only bring up 1 row. Okay, so this is inner join, right? Next, we will see how the left join works. So this is our left join. Let's see how this looks like. We have to bring order ID, customer name, and order date, right? So we are doing left join. That means all the content from the left and mapping values from the right. So we have here, what do we have here? We have 3 rows in the orders table. So basically it will bring up all the 3 rows and the mapping content from the right table. As we are only bringing order ID, customer name and order date, what joins will go and look is, it will go check with the customer ID first because these joins are based on the customer ID, right? So it will go, okay, I have two over here. Then I will bring up the order ID from here, customer name from here, order date from here. Okay, so this one is done. The first row is done. So, but this is a left join. I need to bring up these 2 rows also. But I do not have the data of these 2 rows in the right join. What joins will understand is, it will bring up, because we are only selecting these columns, it will look up for this customer ID, get these 2 rows, will get these 2 rows, but in the customer place name, it will show a null because it did not find any data over there. But left join is that you have to bring up everything from the left table. That means it will bring up these 2 rows, but it will not bring up any customer names because it did not have any matching value in the right table. That's why it will show a null over here. So this one is left join. So the vice versa for the left join should be the right join, right? We will look at how the right join works. Okay, let's take a cell gap in between 2. So right join has to bring up everything from the right but not left. It has to bring up only the mapping values from the left, right? So in this case, it has to look up for the customer ID first and it will bring up the first row completely. That means it will go check for this 2 and this 2, bring up the order ID, bring up the order date. So this entire row is covered. This is the right clause. So it has to bring up these 2 rows from the right table, which is customer table. And it will bring up the name because we have the name, customer name over here, but it will not have any matching values for here for order ID and order date, right? So what it will do, it will throw a null in these 2 places. This is how the left and right join will work. If you see here, this is the exact vice versa of left join and right join. And you can see here, there are so many cases. The left join and the right join are, you can just reverse out the data, or you can use the same tables by putting it left or putting it right, and just it's all vice versa. If you just do the same clause, whatever is in the same clause with the left join, you just have to put the customer table first and the orders table at the second. And it will work the same, right? It will work the same as this. So it is completely, I mean, totally opposite of the left join. And our last one is the outer join. Outer join has to bring everything from 2 tables. So let's see how this works. I will paste it here. Let's look at how this is going to work. Let's place it in a convenient place. Okay. So if you see here, we are looking at the outer join, right? That means it has to bring every data. So we have a customer ID clause working in between these 2, and we have to get order ID, customer name, and order date. So first thing, this entire row will come up. That means the customer ID, which has 2, will throw up the order ID, customer name, and order date. Okay. And the second thing, it has to bring up everything from both the tables. So what it will do, it will pick up these two rows and it will throw the data over here. But it did not see any data in the orders table related to the order ID and order date, right? So it will say, okay, I did not see any data here. So I will place a null over here. See, I will also place a null over here because I did not see any value related to this 2, the 1 and the 3, the first one and the last one. So the other places in the order ID and the order date, because it did not have the customer ID over here, it will show a null. And in this until this part, the right table is completely covered. So outer join means the left table content should also be there. That means we are left with these two rows. So what join will understand is, okay, I will bring this two, I will bring this two as well, but the name over here, I do not have the data. That's why I will throw a null over there. So this is how your outer join will work. It will bring the entire data, but it will join the data. It will bring the left table data and the right table data. But wherever there is no possible combination, it will go up for a null. And your data, which is resulting from an outer join, contains everything. So this is how joins work, and this is a simple concept. Whenever I just wanted to make you understand that, okay, with the three rows and how this is going to work. But this is not the case scenario when we are working with the big tables. You have to be very knowledgeable, like understandable about the data. Like you have to go analyze your data again and again on what columns you have to join and how my data will be flowing to my work, etc. You need to understand everything, right? So okay, we will just go with Tableau and see how this is going to work with the Tableau dashboard. Okay, so why we are actually doing joins? Is there a constant need for your data to join it every time? So the answer is yes. Basically, you will get the data in different formats or also in different tables. Even if you work with the cloud databases, all the data will be in different tables, and whenever you're working on them, there can be a scenario or there can be a requirement where you have to join the tables based upon these clauses, and you have to join the data and bring up different columns from different tables, and you have to create a view out of it. That is completely based upon our requirement. Okay, let's check how to do the joins inside Tableau. Let's add a new data source. I'll say Excel sheet. Okay, I'm going for practice file. I'm just creating a new data source to make it more clearly understandable. But if you have already a data source with the same file, you can just edit the data source and go to your data source editing page and make your joins. So this is how data source page look like without any tables on our view. I'll say full data, that means all the data including home office and customer and corporate data. I just dropped my full data. So this is how your data looks like. And if you want to look the data from the Tableau itself, you just have to see your column names from here. If there is a server related connection and if you are not able to predict what are the columns and what is the unique column, just go with this page, and this is a space you working space for you to see the column names also. If you are unsure about on what column you have to connect these both tables, just go and look at the data, how the data looks like and everything. In this case, if you see the order ID, that is different for different product. Let's say even the customer ID is actually the same. If you see here, we are seeing so many rows with the same content. That means this contains duplicates, but we need to have a unique column. Okay, unique column. Please remember that we have this unique and primary constraints in SQL as well. And the primary constraint is like we cannot have a null value or a duplicate value in the primary constraints. But in unique values, we can have a null value inside the column we have. So I will say this one as a unique value because because we do have with some duplicates inside this data. That's why we can call it as a unique column in this case. So Tableau doesn't have this clause primary or unique columns. We just go with the data of okay, whatever can be bringing a approximate result whenever we join. So we can have duplicates or we can have nulls in our data. So if you're joining based upon the columns, I mean the column inside the data, you can have different duplicates or null data also inside your data. So we can't completely compare this as a unique and primary column, but we will go with okay the matching data between these two tables. Okay, and let's drag. Let's also see what column we have in the written table. If you just click on this grid over here, you will see a table with this. See, you will have a view data option over here. This grid mark. If you click on that, you can see the data of what column you can be combining this with. If you see here, in the returns table, we have only two columns, one with the order ID and one with the return. So we do not have any option here. We have to go with the call order ID only, right? Okay, let's tag. And I'm adding one more thing in this scenario. So we have a concept of also relationships in Tableau, which we will be covering in the coming sessions. But whatever we are learning now is joining. If you want to join tables in Tableau in this page, just double click on the logical table. We call it as a logical table here, which is a relationship. We call it as a physical table, which is joining. If you double click on this logical table, this will take back to your space where this is called physical table, and you can join the data in this here. If you are working on the main canvas and that is a relationship, if you just double click on it and join the tables, that is a join. So by default, Tableau took inner join from the data. So while working on this, remember that if you're working on a published data source, you can't use a published data source into the join. So if you're combining the published data sources, you must edit the original data source to natively contain the join or use a data blend. That means if you have to go to the published data source, make a join there, but you can't bring back the published source here and make a join to that published source to a new table. So when joining tables, the fields that you join must have the same type of data. That means you actually have to have some column which contains the same data. Fields used in join clause cannot be removed without breaking the join. So you have to make sure that you are using the right field, and if they are removed with any data update at the later point, these two tables will throw error saying that okay, there is no joining clause between these two tables. Might be the column has been removed or edited with a new name. Please check that. So this kind of error might happen if you just remove a column which is in the joining clause. So we are joining two tables from the same Excel sheet. That means our data source, if you see here, the connection is only one Excel sheet. Inside the Excel sheet, we have two tables. One is full data and one is return. This means we are joining from a same data source. If you are joining a table from a different data source, that means if you are adding some other data source from here and adding a table from that data source, that is a cross database join. So this is the difference between the same data source join and a cross database join. If you see here, we have one blue color representing that it is the same data source. If you add one more data source here, it will actually show a different color. Let's also see that how it is going to look like. Just for the representation only, if you see here, the first one is blue and the second one is orange. That means this is a first database and this is the second database, and if you join some table in this file, that would be a cross join database. So for now, I'm removing this connection and we will go ahead with our first table. These are the options you will get whenever you're joining the data. It exactly looks like a Venn diagram, and if you want to change this, you just have to click on that and say left join. If you hover on that, it will show you a description of what those tables are about. So includes only values with matches in the both tables, includes all values in the left table and all matches from the right table. Members without matches will show up as nulls on the right. We already saw the scenario where if it doesn't recognize any other value in that particular row, it will throw a null over there. So includes all the value from the right table and all matches from the left table is a right join. Full outer join includes all the values from the both tables. Members without matches will show up as nulls. If you see here, Tableau automatically picked up a column which is same in both the data tables. That means it says, okay, I have order ID name here. I also have a order ID column name in the other table. So I'm just predicting that this can be a same table from both the tables. Sorry, this can be a same column from both the tables. So this one is automatically picking up one scenario in this column. But if you are sure that in one table we have a different column name and other table we have a different column name, let's say I have an order ID in the first column with the same column name as order ID numbers, something like that. And you know that, okay, these two columns are same, but Tableau is not recognizing only because the column name is different. Okay. In that case, you can go ahead, click on this drop down and select the column name in this list and map the same thing over here. So it will throw up all the columns which you have in that particular table, and this one will come as a drop down. If you click on the is equal to symbol over there, you will also see the second one is not equal to, the third one is less than, the fourth one is less than or equal to, the fifth one is greater than, the sixth one is greater than or equal to. You can also change the joining clause scenarios inside Tableau. This is a special case in Tableau. We might have to write a big code to do these joins in different scenarios, but you just have to pick up in the drop down option in Tableau to do this. And you also have one more over here to write a join calculation. You can even create a calculation from directly here. Okay, for example, let's say I have order ID and I wanted to join only from the last. If you see here, the order ID, the first two letters are state and the second four letters are year and the last number is actual the order number, right? I want to pick up only the last values in that order ID. I can even write a calculation over here to pick up only those numbers from this particular column, and I can map the same thing with the other table. The scenario will be coming up mostly in the case where you have, let's say, you do have some student ID and you have some zeros in the front, and in other table you have a student ID without zeros. In this scenario, in the first table, you might have to pick up the last five numbers and you have to map up with the same thing in the other table, which is only having that five numbers over there. That doesn't have the zeros in the other table. In this scenario, this can be a bigger use for those joins in that kind of tables. So for us, right now we are joining based upon the left join, and we are joining based upon order ID and order ID from the returns. If you see here, you are seeing this color, right? All the blue. That means, okay, that means that's the first table and we do not have any cross tables. If you see here, we have two new columns added from returns. The table name is actually shown here. If you see here, full data, point, profit, which is column name. The full data is a table name. If you see here, it is a second table, returns, and the column name is return. And we are seeing so many nulls. That means it did not have any matching data in the second table. You see here, it came up with some rows where it brought some values. That means it went to that order ID and brought this yes over here. It looked up for this value and brought this value over here. And if there is no value mapped up to that particular order ID in the second table, it will bring a null over there. You can always check the data from here and see how your data is looking like in the start page itself. Let's check how many yes we got there from the return table. Let's track order ID, which is the same column from both the tables. So first order ID I got is from the full data, and the second order ID is from the returns. See here, there are so many order IDs which did not map up with the second table. That means it all brought all the content from the left table and it did not bring up all the values from the right table because we used the left join. And if you see here, you can see the exact order ID. And if you see here, we have 5009 marks in the order ID from the left table. That means it brought up all the 5009 rows from the left table. But if you want to look at how many rows it actually bought from the right table without the nulls, you just remove that and you see 297 marks only. That is also counting a null value. That means 296 values only mapped up with the right table. So if you just see returned column, this means if we only have this many products returned. In this scenario, we are not having any data in the return table is telling us that we did not have those many returns. We only have 297 returns, and you can map that from the order ID.